sharing my story and the things that I've been throughout different relationships and give lessons in love, really. So
Welcome to the Phase 4 podcast, inspired by Vishen Lakhiani and Ajit Nawalkar, co-founders of EverCoach, a division of Vine Valley. In this podcast, we speak to coaches and creatives about where they were, where they are, and where they are going. This is the intersection of what we focus on expands, and your story is your superpower. My guest today is Heather Baker. She is an emotional healing and relationship coach, and she also has her own podcast. And today we're going to talk about that and much more. And Heather, welcome to the podcast.
hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, definitely grateful. I kind of like to begin with just tell us a little bit more about yourself and how did you end up in this space?
Sure, absolutely. So, my story actually starts when I was 19. I became a mother at 19 years old, very unexpected. And that experience in itself kind of created this foundation of a girl who didn't believe in herself, who kind of believed that she had screwed up her whole life by having this child at such a young age, who believed nobody was going to be with her. And I found myself getting into this extremely toxic relationship about 4 months after I had my daughter. And he kind of swept me off my feet. He was everything I thought I wanted. He wanted to take care of me and my daughter. And I was like, this is like my knight in shining armor. And then I found out that he was abusive and a narcissist. And I was with him for 10 years. And that relationship shook me to my core. It changed who I was. It stripped me of every bit of confidence that I had left. It left me with all kinds of trauma responses and just this shell of a person. I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't love myself. And after I finally got out of that relationship, it kind of just put me on this healing journey, trying to find out more about what I had been through. And I realized that at this point, this was about 6 years ago now, I had never heard the term narcissist, really. I didn't hear, gaslighting and trauma bonding and all those terms. And I didn't know what any of that was. So I was like, I need to help women who have been in this situation like myself and don't know what it is and don't know how to get out of it. So I just dedicated myself to that and to my own healing journey, because that's an evolving thing every single day. And yeah, there's been lots of ups and downs on the road, but now today I'm coaching, do one-on-one coaching. I have my podcast, and I'm also writing a book about my journey as well.
Wow, that's awesome. So the tagline for this podcast is what we focus on expands, which is happening. But my own private separate company, it's called the Next Steps Academy. And the tagline for that is your story is your superpower. And your story is definitely your superpower. And this is why, right? You take all the stuff you learned, you didn't know, you started learning, you started healing yourself, and now it feels so good you can bring it to other people.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And so do you have a working title for the book?
Yeah, so my book is called Tattoos on the Heart. And I called it that because I have 3 major love stories in my life, and I have a tattoo for each of these men. I'm covered in tattoos. You can't tell it now. I got a hoodie on here, but I ended up getting tattoos for each of these guys. And at the time, it was me proving my love to them, and I should have learned after I had my husband's name tattooed down my leg. So it's kind of going off of that premise and how, I have these scars on my body, but I also have these scars on my heart, and they were the tattoos of my heart.
Wow, that's poetic. I love it.
Thanks.
So the name of your company is Heather Nicole Coaching. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I briefly mentioned, I do one-on-one coaching for women who have been in these situations with toxic relationships. And really any kind of trauma, because I realized throughout my journey that not only toxic relationships affect us in how we show up in our lives. And that's really the thing for me is I realized how much all my trauma and all the things that I had been through really changed how I interacted with people in my life, how I interacted with my daughter, how I advocated for myself. And that's what trauma does. So a lot of my coaching is undoing those beliefs, kind of shifting our perspective of ourselves, of our lives, and moving into a more confident, more fierce version of yourself.
Yeah, definitely love it, right? So like the same event can happen and you can take it and be a victim forever, or you can decide, okay, this happened to me. I didn't ask for it, but I'm going to learn from it, use it as a superpower and change it around. And so, yeah, I think it's powerful, right? Because like all these layers they add up, and like there's layers that haven't even happened yet. But as you go forward, you learn more and more and bring it with you and somehow weave it together into a magical tale, which sounds like that's what your book's going to be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm aiming at kind of sharing my story, and the things that I've been throughout different relationships, and give lessons in love, really. So, one chapter is going to be about being confident. There's another chapter about your worthiness. I have a chapter about codependent love because that's something else that I dealt a lot with. There's even a sex chapter on there because that's something else that people don't really think about being in an abusive relationship, that, you can be sexually abused even when you're married. And that's something that I dive into in there as well.
Wow, that's deep. Thanks for being vulnerable. I think I asked you, like, I ask everyone on the screener, like, what are some authors and mentors you look up to? But I'm kind of wondering, like, Gabor Mate is? I don't know how to say his name, but he's like a trauma expert. Gabor Mate.
I'm not familiar with the name.
That's okay. I'll share you the information later.
Check him out. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like the #1 dude for trauma, and just, I guess his parents grew up in a concentration camp. And so like he goes all the way back to like even before you're born, this is in your body, right? It's in the mother and you're in the womb. And so if you're living in that environment, that trauma affects you. You don't even know why. Then you start doing these kind of things you talked about earlier as you're growing up and not realizing like you're just giving your power away, right? How about the 5 love languages? Gary,
yeah,
okay.
Very familiar with those. Yeah.
So tell me about that book. What do you think about that? And do you have a particular one, or just what are your thoughts about that book?
Yeah, I mean, it has definitely rung true in my life, for sure. My love language. So I'm kind of a combination between words of affirmation and quality time. And, for the longest time, I thought that my love language was physical touch. And that was mostly because that was what was kind of projected onto me by my ex-husband. And then after doing the research and kind of reading the book and really getting into it and asking myself the questions, I realized that I more resonate with these words of affirmation and this quality time. But I think it's really important too to not only understand your own love language, but if you're in a relationship, to understand your partner's love language too, because that's what's really going to help you in loving that person better. So even if you know your love language and you get into a new relationship, I think it's a fun little thing to be like, hey, my love language is quality time. Let's figure out what yours is so we can, figure out a good way to strategy, I guess you could say, for this relationship. But it really works. It really does.
Yeah. I think the more important part is what you said, that you need to know the other person in a relationship, because you might be thinking, right? Like, I'm doing all these things or buying gifts or flowers, and the person doesn't care. They want quality time with you. And you're like, how come this isn't working, right? So It's definitely, it helps for yourself, but I definitely think more for your partner or whatever. But, and then I saw an awesome one. Oh, sorry. Right.
No, you're right. Go ahead.
I saw an awesome book you put there. Big Magic, Elizabeth Gilbert. I love that book. It's so cool.
I'm actually rereading it right now. This is the 3rd time I've read this book. It is so, so good. I like her. She's such a great writer. I'm obsessed with her. A lot of her. I've read many of her books. But this one in particular, it just sparked something within me, and it's so fun to read. And it's an easy read, really. You know, I've been flying through it. That's why I've read it so many times. So anytime I kind of find myself like down on my creativity, just feeling like I hit a block, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna read some big magic, excuse me, and get some inspiration because it's I just love it. I love it so much. I love her perspective on creativity, and her big thing in the book is how ideas kind of float around. And I like, it makes so much sense to me. And I love it so much. It's just, I don't know. I love her.
That's like one of my big takeaways about that. And that story about how she was like writing this book in and out of the desk drawer for years. And then she goes somewhere else and someone had the exact same book. And it's just like, whoa. And it kind of, when I hear that kind of a story, like, so for anyone who doesn't know, she was writing this book. She went to somewhere across the other side of the country, went to see this author give a speech, and that author wrote the exact book, same characters, same country, same time, everything. Like, and her idea is that the idea, and I don't know if she called it God or not, but that's how I look at it. Like, it's coming through everybody. And if you don't use the idea, it will keep coming to you asking, please use me. And if you don't use it, it will just go to someone else. And I always kind of think like things like when Edison made the light bulb or the Wright brothers flying the first airplane, I guarantee there's got to be somebody else at the other side of the world or a different place trying to do that exact same thing. And it just maybe didn't work, but I digress. I love that book.
Yeah.
And the way she talks about
that too, when it's the little stupid stuff that I'm like, oh, you know, we should, I don't know. Now, of course, right now I can't think of something, but like little things, I'm like, oh, somebody else has definitely thought about this for sure. It's got to be a thing already, you know? But you never know. You never know. Like that idea could be visiting you in just that time and be meant for you. So it's really good reminder for myself to lean into my ideas, you know, and if something comes to me, to kind of play with it a bit and see what happens with it. And if it sparks into something more, then roll with it.
Oh, yeah. I love that. And the other part of that book I love is when she talks about fear, how it's like she used to try to avoid it. And now it's like, just, you can come with me, but you're sitting in the back seat.
Yes, that's the part actually. I just read that chapter a couple nights ago. But yeah, because you're right. Like, you're never going to get away from fear. You're never going to get away from it. I mean, even the most confident, successful people in the world, you know, even Queen Beyonce out there, you know, every now and then she definitely has some fears coming up, you know, but she's doing what Elizabeth is explaining in the book and just bringing it along, thanking it for being there, like allowing it space to be there, but then going for the damn thing anyway. And that's why she's the queen, you know, because she lets that fear be there. She gives it space.
I love it. How about your podcast? Tell us what it's called, a little bit about it, how long are the episodes, and what kind of episodes do you talk about?
Yeah, for sure. So my podcast is called Be Fiercely You, and it's all about healing and being your authentic self and really stepping into this fierce version of you, your highest self. And my episodes, so I've been shifting a little bit and playing with some new things lately. So I have a couple different formats that I use. So I have guests on there. I have some awesome guests coming up talking about anxiety and relationships, one about solo travel and the confidence that it takes to do something like that. But then I also do what I call power talk episodes, where it's me kind of lighting a fire under your ass and like giving you a little boost of motivation. And those are shorter episodes. You know, I try to stick to under 15 minutes with those, just like a quick little boost that people need. And then I also just started doing girl talk episodes because I have a group of friends I'm very close with, and we get a bottle of wine and we talk about our traumas and our relationships. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been a really good time. So there's going to be more of those episodes coming out soon too. But I love my podcast so much. I've really leaned into it because, as you guys can probably tell, I'm a talker. I love to talk. I could talk for hours. So I was like, I'm going to lean into this, and the podcast is the perfect platform for that.
Yeah, I love it. There's a couple things in there. So the fact that you're just trying different things is a good tip for people just starting to do anything. It doesn't have to be a podcast, but try all the different ways of doing it, and then you'll see which ones resonate with you. The women on the to sit down, have a bottle of wine, talk about it. Not only do you get to heal yourself, but now other people who are hearing that are like, okay, I'm not alone. There's other people who are feeling the exact same way as me. And it doesn't matter what part of the world. We all have these human emotions, right?
Exactly, exactly. And that's really a big driving force for me to do all of my work, because for years I felt so alone. You know, when I was in my abusive relationship, I was like, I'm the only person that's ever gone through this. The only person in the whole world that's ever felt this way. Nobody understands. And, you know, I had that stuck in my head. And that's really a hard feeling, because you shut yourself off. You don't share what's going on. You don't seek support because you're like, nobody will understand. So to have that put out there and be like, hey, you're not alone. You know, a lot of people have been in really shitty situations, and I feel you. I feel you. So yeah, that's really important to me.
Yeah, and we learn from books like The Body Keeps Score that the trauma, like you might be hiding it, but it's not going to go away, right? You have to release it. You have to kind of work through it, integrate it, use it as your superpower. Yeah. And then back to the podcast, the Fiercely Me journal. Did you just come out with a journal? Or I guess not
yes.
but...
Yeah, that's been out for a few months now. So I designed this journal. So I'm a huge journal junkie. I have journaled I've been journaling for years and years, probably like 10 years. But after I got out of my relationship and really started on this healing journey, journaling became huge for me to heal. It's so amazing for so many reasons, you know, and I've used it in different ways. And some of it is more diary type, where I'm like, today I went out on a date, you know, and that kind of thing. But then there's a lot of gratitude practices and other intentional things that you can do. And I wasn't finding any journals out there for people who don't know, who haven't done research like I have and really kind of committed their life to figuring all this out. You know, there's not a journal out there to really lead you through the healing process. So I created this journal that has morning and evening check-ins, where, you know, you're kind of in the morning, you're setting yourself up for the day. What's my intention for today? How do I want to feel today? How am I going into this? How can I be my most confident and fierce self today? Questions like that. And then at the end of the day, it's checking in with yourself. What was my hardest part of the day? What was my best part of the day? Did I face any triggers today? How did that show up? Because I really believe in awareness and building that self-awareness. And you know, the journal was designed to build up your awareness. And then after each week, there's a journal prompt for you to kind of reflect on the week. And there's 30-day planning pages in there, so you can set your goals for 30 days. It has plenty of writing space. I write big, so that's another one for me. So I designed it for what I would want, you know, something that I didn't see out there. But yeah, it's really fun. There's different cover options that you can pick from that kind of fit your personality. So yeah, it's awesome. I love it.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think introspection, metacognition, thinking about what we think about, awareness, right? You said awareness. Yeah. That's huge. For me, that's the first thing. Like, because if you don't know, and like you were there before, I was there before, when you don't know, you don't know. You're just going through it, and you don't realize that it can change, or that you have more control than you do. So awareness is good. Journaling is healing in itself. It allows us to take our thoughts out of our head and put them on paper and see them and organize them. And it just organizes your thinking. But something you said, it was intention. That's the biggest part. So you set an intention, and then looking back at your week, and did I do everything I wanted to? Where did I fall from grace? Why were my triggers? All these things are part of the healing process that are also going to make you get to where you want to go, right? If you don't reflect or you don't look, I think Joe Dispenza says it, like you might walk right past your future and you'll miss it because you never took a second to look at it or think about it. So journaling, I believe, is huge.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. I journal every single day, and again, sometimes it's the diary type. Sometimes I'm just writing affirmations. Sometimes I'm writing what I'm grateful for. Sometimes I'm writing a letter to my future self. You know, there's so many different things that you can do with journaling. And I just like when I first started, I was like, all right, I have to have journal prompts. I have to answer the journal prompts and that's it. But now I'm just kind of like, what do I need to hear today? You know, like what do I need? What do I need to get off my chest? What's going on? Do I feel like I need to really tap into my gratefulness today? All right, let me make a list of what I'm grateful for. You know, do I really need a kick in the ass? All right, let me write myself a letter, be like, girlfriend, get yourself in order. You know, like whatever I need, I just really lean into that. And I think it's really important to listen to your intuition and lean into that when you're on that process and give yourself whatever it is you need in that moment.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so I ask everyone this question. This is a Phase 4 podcast, and Phase 4 in the 6-phase meditation by Vishen Lakhiani is all about creating your future 3 years from today. So where is Heather 3 years from today?
Well, Heather 3 years from today is traveling the world, exploring, sharing her message on different stages around the world. Her book is out. She's done her book tour. It's a worldwide phenomenon. People love it. And she's just helping women change one day at a time.
Yeah, I love that. Speaking on stages, is that what I heard, Friday?
Yeah, that's the goal. That's the goal, is to get out there and do retreats and speak at women's conferences and stuff like that. A big person that I look up to is Rachel Hollis, and I love what she's done. And I would love to be up on a stage like that one day and talking to 10,000 women and sharing my story and really making an impact.
Yeah, she's got some pretty good books. What are they? It's like almost the same name for all of them.
Yeah, she did The Girl Wash Your Face.
Right.
And Sugar, what's the next one? I'm drawing a blank. She wrote one about her divorce, which was really deep. I really like that one. It came out shortly after my own divorce, so I really resonated with it.
Yeah, another one. I read it too the other couple years ago. Dave Hollis, that was the guy's name.
Girl, Stop Apologizing. That's
yeah. Both good books. Doesn't have to be just for girls, but very good books.
No, she's got some really great wisdom in there. She's a powerhouse. I really enjoy her work.
Who are maybe some of your other mentors that you look up to or that have helped you along the way?
Well, we brought up Elizabeth Gilbert, but that big magic book of hers is actually not the book that really changed my life the most. Her book, Eat, Pray, Love. I read that book towards the end of my marriage. And that was really the thing that pushed me into being like, there's got to be something else out there. Because for those who aren't familiar, this book is about her kind of finding herself. She goes on this year-long journey of solo travel. But it all starts because she's in this marriage and she just feels stuck and she doesn't feel like herself and she's not happy. And when I read that, I was like, holy shit, like I am not, like that was my first example of like, I'm really not alone. You know, somebody else has felt like this. And she just kind of took it all into her own hands and was like, I want change. This isn't what I want anymore. And it was really, really difficult for her, but she did it. And she went and traveled and she discovered who she was. And, you know, she found this deep love. And that story, it just meant so much to me. And it really was like what told me that I could make a change in my life and that it was possible. So I really look up to her for that. So that one's been big for me. And it's made me want to solo travel, which is still on my bucket list. I want to go to Europe for like a month to go by myself. I want to go to Bali by myself and just explore.
That's awesome. I think it's a movie too. I don't know if it's Julia Roberts. Is it Julia Roberts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've seen the movie like, I don't know, like 100 times. Probably read the book like 10 at this point. I love it so much. I could recite like every line from that movie.
Yeah, there's another thing in there I'm hearing is that like, you always hear this one, like the master will appear when the student is ready or the teacher will appear when the student is ready. And you said You just kind of found it at the end of your marriage, but he didn't. That book came to you right at that time first, exactly so you can empower yourself.
Yeah, 100%. I've thought about that often. Because I would have never had the courage to leave that situation if it wasn't for reading that book and for really just kind of having that light bulb moment that there is something else out there, that my life doesn't have to be defined by this man and me being his wife and just living this miserable existence. You know, there's so much more out there. And I was like, yeah, I'm going for it.
I love it. I know that exact last sentence you just said there, like that there's more out there, that people feel that. So if you feel that there's something more for you, there is. That's the reason why you feel that way. And so reach out to Heather. As we begin to wind down, if this episode resonates with you, please like, subscribe, share, follow, but no hard sell. And definitely reach out to Heather. If that last exchange especially resonates with you, or any of this, reach out to Heather. She's been there. She can help you through it. So she's not only has the compassion, but she has the empathy to help serve you. So again, reach out to Heather. But I guess before I kind of ask my last questions here, I kind of let the guests take it wherever they want. So like, let's say if you have something to sell, sell it. If you have a message of hope or inspiration, if you want to tell us some more of those countries or tell us more about your book or anything you want, take it wherever you like.
Okay, yeah. So, I'll dive into my coaching because I'm open for enrollment right now. My coaching program is called Fierce and Free, and it's all about this same thing that we've been talking about, stepping into your most fierce self and really becoming free from the things that have held you back in the past. So it's a 12-week program. We have weekly coaching calls. And it is a structured program, but at the same time, as I learn more about you, it helps me to incorporate different exercises and different routines and things like that that'll really help you specifically. So it becomes very personalized. There are weekly emails where I give you little doses of motivation and some journal prompts to work through and some homeworks. And I'm there for you for support every day. I'm open for texting certain business hours. I don't take midnight calls, but, I'm there for you for support, whatever you need. So it's a really great program. I've had some really great successes, really amazing transformations come out of it. So, like JP said, if this is resonating with you, definitely reach out to me. You can check on my website. It's heathernicolecoaching.com. And I hang out on Instagram and TikTok all the time. My handle is at the Heather_Nicole. But yeah, you can definitely find me on either of those platforms all the time. But yeah.
Awesome. My final question is usually how can people reach you? But since you got there, are you going to any events coming up? Like, we were talking about retreats and stuff. Like, this is part of doing the work, is to go there, not to come home and just forget it, but to go there to connect with other people that are feeling it, to expand your awareness. But so do you have any of those kind of things coming up that you're about to attend?
So for me, I love doing retreats. There is one in Arizona that I've been looking into. I haven't booked it yet. It's towards the end of the year. So I'm trying to get that planned out. But for me, one of the most healing things for me is music and live music. And we're coming up on music festival season. So I have a couple festivals planned that I'm going to. And really, those are my healing retreats. I can let loose, body movement. Like, I really get into the flow. So I'm doing there's a reggae rise up that's in Baltimore, Maryland, that I'm going to. It's a 3-day festival in June. There's another festival in September that's on the beach that I'm so excited for. It's got some of my favorite bands, Blink-182. Dave Matthews Band is going to be there. Like, they have an amazing lineup. So, and there's one other festival, an EDM. I love all kinds of music. So there's an EDM festival I'm going to as well in July. So those are my healing retreats. So I'm very excited about those.
I love it. I think Blink-182 is from Toronto, or close to Toronto, 20 minutes east.
Yeah, I think they are. Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Yeah, I love all the concerts. I used to go to so many. Like, I was addicted to concerts before I had kids. It is. It's
Yeah.
healing, right? It's just
It,
change our environment, feel instead of think, and yeah, and love it.
mhm. Yeah. There was a local festival that they were doing that's like 5 minutes from my house. It was a 4-day festival. It was called Firefly. If anybody's listening has been there, it's in Dover, Delaware. But it's a huge festival. I mean, they have like 60, 70,000 people go to this festival. It's a 4-day thing. And that was my first experience with music festivals. And I was just like, I was changed after that weekend. My soul was so filled up and I just felt this inspiration and motivation that's kind of hard to tap into a lot of the time. So yeah, it really speaks to my soul.
Beautiful. Heather, I'm so grateful for your time today. This was awesome. Thank you so much.
No, thank you so much for being on or having me. It was awesome. I really enjoyed the conversation.